morning, class. Anybody tell me, what did Adolf Hitler do in Europe?
He started the Holocaust.
That was a good answer. Anything else?
I don't know anything else.
Okay, that's good. So we'll learn about everything that he did during the Holocaust. So that's what we're going to be learning today. We're going to be learning about the Holocaust, what Adolf Hitler did to over 6 million Jews.
You're screwed. Keep talking, we'll just...
And we're going to be explaining what the concentration camps were. Okay? So, let's get started. So first of all, before I get started, you guys are going to be writing notes during the presentation and the Brain Pod video. So from the Brain Pod video, I want you to write at least 5 facts that you can incorporate into your paragraphs later. And then 3 from the presentation. Okay?
Dear Tim and Moby, what was the Holocaust? From Brian. The Holocaust was the systematic murder of about 6 million Jews during World War II. It was the worst genocide that we know of. More people were killed during the Holocaust than during any other genocide in human history. Genocide is when one group of people tries to completely wipe out another group. During World War II, Germany's leader, or Führer, was Adolf Hitler.
So what's a genocide?
It's when they try to wipe out a whole group of people.
Before the war, Hitler and his Nazi party gained popularity by promising to make Germany a rich and powerful nation again after their defeat in World War I. Racism, especially anti-Semitism, was a focus of the Nazi agenda. Anti-Semitism is racism against Jews. The Nazis publicly blamed the Jews for Germany's loss of World War I, the Great Depression, and everything else that people thought was wrong with the world. Well...
Okay, so what's the name for the racist comments towards Jews? What's the name of it?
Anti-Semitism?
Okay.
Unfortunately, anti-Semitism didn't start with the Nazis. It has a long history in Europe. The Nazis used Jews as a scapegoat for Germany's problems. It's a lot easier to blame someone else for what's wrong instead of working to make it better. People do that all the time on a much smaller and less destructive level. In Germany, the Nazis passed laws that slowly gave Hitler absolute control of the government, and they began to restrict the Jewish people's rights. Quotas, or limits, were placed on the number of Jewish students schools could enroll. Jewish people were forced to live outside of Germany in Nazi-controlled ghettos. The largest ones were in Warsaw, Poland. Things got more and more extreme for the Jewish people. In 1935, the Nuremberg laws took German citizenship away from all Jews. I never thought about it that way, but you're kind of right. The beginning of the Jews' oppression was a bit like segregation in the US, but it was happening to the Jews in Germany. They were forced to wear yellow...
What's the same thing as the anti-Semitism in Germany and America?
Segregation.
Okay, there you go.
Stars on their clothes, so everyone would know who was Jewish. And on the streets, people were encouraged to harass Jews. It was legal because Hitler was in charge. It all came to a head on November 9th, 1938, when Nazi mobs across Germany murdered 90 Jews, destroyed temples, and looted Jewish-owned shops. It was called Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. That night, German authorities arrested 30,000 Jews and sent them to concentration camps. Concentration camps were large prisons that the Nazis built as part of their final solution, a government-run plan to exterminate the Jews. Hitler was so crazy that it wasn't enough for him to be separate from the Jewish people. He literally wanted them gone from the face of the earth. The Nazis' final solution was to kill all the Jewish people whom they could round up. Whatever lies were told to the people heading there at the time, many concentration camps were places of death. Millions of Jews were killed in gas chambers at these places. The Nazis also killed other people they saw as undesirable, like Slavic people, gypsies, homosexuals, communists, and the developmentally disabled. By the time the war ended and the camps were liberated, the Nazis had murdered close to 6 million Jews, and millions more other people they didn't like. No one's really sure of the exact number, but something like 10 million people were murdered by the Nazis. Yeah, me too. It's really sad and overwhelming. Hey, you guys should talk about this with your parents and teachers. They're good for that, you know. So are friends. I know, the whole thing is really scary and horrible, but it's important to remember it and talk about it so that it doesn't happen again. It's a custom to leave a stone as a remembrance.
So what was a concentration camp?
It was like a prison for the Jews.
Alright, so can anybody tell me anything that they learned from the brain pop video?
I learned that not only Jewish people died, but like millions of other people. So only 6 million of people that died were Jewish, and there was 4 million people that weren't.
Including what? Do you remember what the groups were?
It was like homosexuals, and it was like,
Pretty much anybody that they didn't like.
Yeah.
Right? So if Hitler did not like them, they pretty
They
much died. Okay. That was very good. Right. So we're just gonna go over exactly what they just said, but a little bit more. So what was the Holocaust? So the Holocaust was a very, very bad genocide of over 6 million Jews, and then plus the however many people that they didn't like, they also killed them too. This was during 1941 to 1945 during World War II. So the man that was ahead of all of this was Adolf Hitler. He was the reason why this was a thing. The Jews were taken, abused, and pretty much used as slaves to the Nazis. And they were thrown into concentration camps. So concentration camp is a place, like Jillian said, she said that they're pretty much prisons for these Jewish and the people that the Nazis did not like. There were 22-ish camps all over Europe. The most prominent one that everybody knows about is Auschwitz, and that's where a museum is today, where you can go and you can see all the things that happened. So for the Jews and the people that Hitler did not enjoy, they would shave their heads, they would tattoo their arms with a number that basically is like a serial number, how we basically have a social security number. That was the same thing, but they tattooed it into the person's arm. They took their shoes and their clothes, and they barely fed them and gave them water. And they had them working all the time. One of the bad things about the concentration camps were something called a gas chamber. Does anybody know what a gas chamber is?
Is it when they go into this like little thing and they have all of the like bad gas or something that like kills them?
Yeah, very good. That's a part of it, yes. But do you know what they use?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So pretty much what they use is a little pellet that when it's burned, it makes a gas that people's bodies cannot breathe in, which is basically toxic. Okay, so gas chambers was one way of using or killing the Jews. They pretty much had them stripped naked and told them that they were going to be taking a shower. So it would be a group of Jews and people that were in the camp who would literally think that they were going to take a shower after so many weeks or days that they would be in there. And they would go in and they would shut the doors and lock them in to where they couldn't get out, and they put the gas on and they all died. Another way that they killed the Jews were they starved them and they didn't give them enough water. So when you look at pictures, you literally see the people with just skin and bone, like it was that bad. Or they shot them, or they overworked them, or they did experiments on them. I know they did experiments on twins, especially because they like that mutation kind of stuff. Okay, other facts. This happened during World War II. Does anybody remember why they did the concentration camps in the video? No? Okay. So in the video it said that the concentration camps were the last resorts for getting rid of the Jews, the gypsies, the homosexuals, and all that. Okay. Raise your hand if you got 5 facts and from the video and 3 facts from the presentation. Okay, very good. No, the rest of you guys that didn't, it's fine. So now we're going to be taking the quiz that goes along with the brain pop video, just to see if you guys were paying attention or not. And this isn't a grade, this is just to see if you were paying attention. Okay, first question. Which of the following terms describes the German government under Hitler? A. Democracy. B. Monarchy. C. Oligarchy. Or D. Dictatorship?
D.
Let's find out. I guess it says it at the end. What was the main function of the Jewish ghettos of Europe? A. To separate Jews from the rest of the population. B. To prevent Jews from owning property. C. To allow Jews to better socialize with one another. Or D. To make sure Jews had easy access to places of worship.
A.
Which of the following is an example of genocide? A. When an individual hates an entire race of people. B. When a person is murdered because of his ethnicity. C. When an entire ethnic group is wiped out. Or D. When ethnic discrimination is legalized by the government.
C.
Okay. Why did Hitler blame the Jews for Germany's problems? A. The Jews had helped the Allies defeat Germany in World War I. B. It was easy to blame all the country's problems on one minority group. C. Hitler had a bad experience with a Jewish classmate when he was a schoolboy. Or D. Hitler's parents were secretly Jewish.
B.
Alright, place the following events in sequence. A. Anti-Semitism begins in Europe. B. 6 million Jews are murdered. And C. Hitler comes to power. So A is ACB, B is ABC, C is CAB, or D is BAC.
C.
Okay, what is a quota? A law that makes discrimination legal. B, a limit on how many people are allowed to participate in something. C, a particularly violent form of anti-Semitism. Or D, a form of dictatorship.
A.
Okay. 7 is what effect did the Nuremberg Law have on Germany's Jewish population? A, they forced the entire Jewish population into concentration camps. B, they restricted the rights Jewish people had. C, they prevented Jews from living inside ghettos. Or D, they made being Jewish a crime.
B.
8, what was the final solution? A, America's war plan against Germany. B, a law that denied Jews citizenship. C, a Jewish revolt in the Warsaw Ghetto. Or D, the Nazis planned to murder all European Jews.
D.
As soon as Hitler took over, he began persecuting Jews. In the previous sentence, what does persecuting mean? A, killing. B, discriminating against. C, isolating. Or D, passing laws against.
A.
And Jillian, do you want to read?
What other groups did the Nazis target for extermination? A. Gypsies and communists. B. People of French descent. C. Anyone who wasn't a Nazi. Or D. Catholic people.
Which one is it?
C.
That's not bad. Now, let's see which ones we got wrong. So, 5. Okay, so let's see. So, place the following events in sequence. So, it was anti-Semitism begins in Europe, 6 million Jews are murdered, and Hitler comes to power. So, you put Hitler comes to power first. Why would anti-Semitism begins in Europe and not the one that you picked come first?
Because he probably did what he did because of anti-Semitism. So I guess anti-Semitism would be first.
Right. Let's look at 6. What is a quota? Okay, so you picked a law that makes discrimination legal. Pretty much that means that discrimination is legal, which is okay. So unless it said, because illegal means not okay.
Mm-hmm.
So B is a limit on how many people are allowed to participate in something. So that's correct because they wouldn't allow a certain amount of quota of Jewish people to do something.
Yeah.
Okay. 9. Persecuting. He began persecuting Jews.
He didn't just start killing Jews.
As soon as Hitler took over, he started. Okay, that's why we didn't get that right. And then the last one. That one is because. Do you see why?
Yeah, because that's like the specific
because
ones.
they said specifically gypsies and communists. They didn't say anyone who wasn't a Nazi.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very good. Now we understand. Alright. So. So, again, why is a genocide bad?
Well, because it's killing a bunch of people in one certain group, so that's discrimination, and that's really bad.
Okay, very good. Alright, so now, with the notes that I had you write, I'm going to be giving everybody a article. You guys are allowed to have highlighters or anything like that to underline what you're going to put into your summary. I have a rubric for it. You guys can look at that while you're doing it. But, so I'm just going to pass articles around. You pick whatever you want. So, in the article, I want you to read it and highlight things that you want to put into 1 to 2 paragraph summary of the person, what happened in their story, what happened during the Holocaust with them, and if they passed away, if not, how did they get out of it. Alright, is everybody done?
Yes.
Alright, does anybody have any questions before we continue? Alright, so does anybody want to present what they wrote? Jillian, tell us who the victim was.
Okay. Her name was Sylvia Indig.
Okay, and if you want, you can either tell us about her or read what you actually wrote.
Okay, I'm just gonna read.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, at 13 years old, a young girl named Sylvia Indig got her house broken into by the Nazi army that had invaded Poland. She was taken to the Warsaw Ghetto, which we learned in the video was where Jews and other people that were deemed unwanted were taken so that they weren't to intervene in the lives of others. And she was waiting to go to the Treblinka death camp, which is one of the 22 that you mentioned. While waiting for the train for her potential death, Sylvia noticed a familiar German police officer and mentioned this to her soon-to-be husband, Morris, who then boldly decided to talk to him. The German police officer helped the two escape the Warsaw Ghetto and hid them in a household of a Polish Catholic Jewish family for 26 months in order to stay away from the Nazis. Although Sylvia survived, her family did not escape in time. To ensure her family would never be misplaced in her memory or in history, she decided to help create the Memorial to the 6 Million Martyrs. This was America's first monument towards the Jewish people that lost their lives in Europe through this horrific event we know as the Holocaust.
Very good. Like the grammar in there. Very good.
Thank you.
Good job. So she survived.
Yes.
Okay. Did it say anything about her family?
Yeah, her family didn't. Because when her and her husband, were taken away, her family was still there. So her family did go to the concentration camp. She never heard from them again.
So they probably, unfortunately,
It's really sad.
passed. Yeah, that's normally what happens a lot of the time. One person will end up leaving, and then the family will stay and end up, unfortunately, dying. So, very good. I will take that from all of you guys, and I will grade them. But very good. I'll give you extra points for actually reading it out loud. So, I'm going to be handing out a index card, and I am going to be telling you what to write on there. So, there's your index card. Maybe that to write on. Okay, so on the index card, I want you to write 3 things. One fact about the lesson that we learned, so from the video or the Prezi or anything that I said. Or the second one is going to be what you learned that was very interesting from the person that you read about. And then the last one is if you have any other questions that you're very that you want to ask about the Holocaust that you didn't actually learn about today. Okay? And then when you're done, you turn that in. And Alright, very good.